friend request or join in on Facebook.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our YouTube live event today with special guest, our Hour with the Expert. Great to have you back, Attorney James Mitchell Brown. Appreciate you being here.
Good to hear.
Yes, and of course, as always, not always, but Jam and Philip, appreciate having you here for today's event. So listen, we're going to talk about some of the, actually, you might find this surprising, some of the new and exciting, in my opinion, changes that have gone on in the Social Security disability world that will have an impact on your disability benefits, regardless if you're trying to get approved for disability. We'll talk about some things with Attorney Brown that will impact you, but definitely if you're already approved here. So if you're out there listening and you're new, thank you for joining us. We're bounced around a little bit with our time of these events. We have moved it to 3:15, but we had this previously scheduled with Attorney Brown, who has a super busy schedule. So we chose to keep this week's or move it back to 3:15. So before we get into it, here at the Disability Digest, our objective is to become, say, your trusted source in disability benefit information, like how to get them, keep them, and maximize them. So if you enjoy this show today, subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned for more, share the experience with others would be great. So now, without further ado, I want to mention a few things about Attorney Brown, and thanks again for having you out. We love to have you here because you, in my opinion, on the intro to this, we have the word expert, are the true expert. You've been representing Social Security claimants since 1973. So today we're going to talk about, like, how are things different now compared to like some of the years that you've been doing this. But not only the time that you've done, you have testified in Congress, you've been on CBS News, you've publicly spoken out. I've attended one of your speeches, which I was totally entertained, which was wonderful. Thank you. But most recently, I want to let everybody know that Attorney Brown is the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award from NOSCA. And I have it up on the screen. I got to tell you, Jim, it's not easy to find things about you online because your name is like shared with other famous James Browns that are out there. But needless to say, this is the award. There is an article associated with it, but it doesn't pull up any content when I click on it. But listen, congratulations for that. So glad to have you
Thank
here.
you.
Well deserved. Yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Also, for those of you listening out there, we'll have a Q&A session at the end where you can contact us. We'll do a call-in session, and you can enter your question in the YouTube chat feature, and we'll take some of those questions. So, all right. So, you know, with the Social Security, I don't know if they're going to go from worst to first as far as government agencies, but they have actually, correct me if I'm wrong, been viewed to be one of the worst government agencies, right? And the work that they're doing. So let's start with that. I mean, can could it have gotten any worse? How bad was it?
Well, it's not that it's so bad, but they've made it very uncomfortable for employees. During the last administration, a third of the employees retired with their full pension, and there was a hiring freeze. So that meant two-thirds of the employees had to do 100% of the work. And now that they've been hiring, they have a lot of new employees who don't know what they're doing. The experienced employees are busy teaching them. During COVID, at one point, a memo was sent out, everybody was working from home, that said, if you have children under age 12 and you're at home, we're going to assume you're not working full time unless you have someone watching them. Now, you're supposed to be locked down away from everybody, but they were going to say you had to have somebody come in and watch your children. The union stopped that from happening, but just some things to make people unhappy at work. Most of the people working for Social Security are conscientious and really trying to do a good job. It's just a difficult situation.
Yeah, they're faced with a lot of work, and you know, they're understaffed. So now I know the just last week there was an update on the Anderson Cooper piece that was I think a good talking point for today. He originally did a piece on overpayments, and then he did this follow-up piece. And in the follow-up piece, he was saying that, you know, there has been some changes by the commissioner that have been, that, you know, it's been improvements. We'll talk about those in a minute. And then the people that were subject to these overpayments, they actually, I guess the media helped them out. They didn't have to pay the money back. So where I want to go with this at this point, Jim, is in the time that you have been doing this, like, what is the validity to the optimism? Are the changes that are being made, are these like the real deal? Have you seen anything like this in your experience in the past?
Let me give a little background first. I've been going to Washington, meeting with people in Congress since 1981 on disability issues. And in 81, Ronald Reagan has proven to be the worst president ever for people trying to get Social Security disability. He vowed to cut off 500,000 people a year from their disability benefits. He attempted to do that. There were suicides all over the country. We actually got hold of the interoffice memos showing that they were trying to cut off the people with mental illness first because they were least able to fight back when they got these termination notices. They then tried to put something in place saying that you had to list all of your conditions when you filed for disability. That meant that most people didn't list everything. They list what made them stop working. But let's say they stopped working because they had back surgery, but they didn't list they'd also had heart problems and neurological problems. When they were denied and finally came to get a representative, the representative said, we're going to put all of those things in. They would have had to refile and lose all of the time from the initial application to the new one. And they tried to implement that to take away benefits from people. So it was just disgraceful what they tried to do. Until this month, George Bush was absolutely the best president for helping the disabled get better representation. He made some changes during his term that were just great for people trying to get disability. Joe Biden has surpassed that. He appointed Martin O'Malley as Commissioner of Social Security. And Commissioner O'Malley is the first commissioner in the 50 years I've been representing claimants who actually listens to claimants' representatives, understands some of the problems in the system. The first big change that Commissioner O'Malley made was when you've applied for disability, you had to list all of your work for the past 15 years. That's extremely difficult, first of all, to remember for some people. And then I had a case last year of someone who had been a truck driver for the last 14 years, but the year before that, she was a secretary. And they tried to say that her skills as a secretary 15 years ago kept her from being disabled. It took a lot of cross-examining of the vocational witness to show that nothing she did as a secretary 15 years ago related to anything she'd have to do now. But if somebody was in there alone, they couldn't do that. When Ronald Reagan became president, 8% of the people got representation for Social Security claims. Now it's about 85%. They've made it so difficult. Making it a 5-year look back instead of 15 is a huge, huge change. But then last Friday, they came out with another change that was even better. The Social Security forever has used something called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles to determine what past work is. The Dictionary of Occupational Titles was last updated in 1991. So when they were looking at jobs you could do, they were looking at a book that was so outdated it was ridiculous. And in the memo with this new rule, it says we're now using current federal employment data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics to make these new rules. And they will not deny disability benefits based on the existence of isolated jobs existing only in limited numbers in relatively few locations. To tell you some of the jobs they used to use when they testify and say, well, you could do this and this. One of them was a hostess in a dance hall. Another was a nut sorter. Another was a magnetic tape winder or a microfilm processor. They can't use those anymore. Others they can't use. A motion picture projectionist, a camera repairer, a machinist for motion picture equipment, a watch repairer. Now, really, a watch repair just sits there and doesn't lift anything heavy, except people don't have watches like they used to. Another job they got rid of is reptile warden. Another one, here's one that everybody knows about, directory assistance operator. A couple months ago, I had a vocational witness say a client could be a directory assistance operator, but on cross-examination, she really couldn't tell me how many jobs there were in that field, since most phone companies have done away with that. Another one they had that they did away with is pay station attendant. Most turnpikes don't have people taking your money anymore. Right. There aren't a lot of parking lots that are using them. They're going to self-pay. Here's one of my favorite, an impersonator character.
What's that?
It takes some skill to be an impersonator. A fur farmer and a canary breeder. So they got rid of those. Some of these are just comical, but they're trying to make the jobs more relevant. And, you know, yes, you could be a computer operator, but not if you have a 10th grade education. And they're trying to get more relevant. They got rid of over 100 jobs that they were using to deny people disability. It's a huge breakthrough. What we have to do now, though, is go back through a lot of the cases that were denied nationally and get them reopened. That's going to be a nightmare for Social Security, but a huge benefit for claimants who were denied benefits.
So just focusing on this one point, this is amazing information. If somebody was out there and they were denied in their hearing denial letter, would it reference the jobs that they cited that they could do?
It should reference the jobs that it should reference that. Yeah. I just gave you a brief sampling of the hundreds of jobs that no longer can be cited.
Yeah.
And those jobs that no longer can be cited are just representative of many others. So it's a huge difference. But if they were represented, they should contact their representative and ask if it could be reopened. Even if it's past the appeal period, some of them can still be reopened.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. So somebody was denied 5 years ago for a nut sorter job. There's some hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
And
I don't know, man. That's really encouraging.
right? That's a huge past due benefit they'd be entitled to.
Yeah, that'd be a game changer. Right, right. Okay, so the 5-year look back, and the Dictionary of Occupational Titles has been updated. You referenced about 100 jobs have been eliminated from it, right?
Well, they're gradually eliminating the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. They haven't totally eliminated it yet. I was at a hearing a couple of weeks ago with a client who only had one eye, and the vocational witness said, there's nothing in the Dictionary of Occupational Titles about monocular vision. And I said, is there something in ORS, which is what the Bureau of Labor Statistics job category is called? And the judge said, what's ORS? And I said, that's going to be what you're using soon to determine jobs. And it's a more up-to-date system. It gets updated daily by the Department of Labor. And then I said to the vocational witness, does that describe it well? She said, except for one thing, it's easier for us to look things up in ORS too, because it's all electronic.
Okay.
So they haven't even told the judges about this yet.
I'm sure they love you when you go in for a hearing.
Most of them do.
That's great. Great. Okay, so we have some good things going on. And folks, for those of you that are listening, you actually have the ability to make a difference, because the success that is going on right now, and correct me, Attorney Brown, is fantastic, but there's no guarantee that the commissioner is going to be in place, and there's something that you can do, we'll cover at the end, to make a difference. All right, so
let me say one more thing, Brian.
Yeah.
You should write your senators or your representatives and thank them for these changes. Even though people in the House and Senate had little of anything to do with it, they may or may not know about it, but nobody says thank you anymore. And if you write them and say, these changes are terrific, thank you for letting them happen, it will get noticed and they'll be less likely to be rolled back.
Yeah, that's well said. And then one other thing, can you just quickly touch on the change in the overpayment that's out there? If somebody gets an overpayment notice for a staggering amount of money, what's different about that?
The most they can take back now is 10% of your monthly check, where they were actually cutting people off until it was paid back. Now the most they can take out of your check is 10%. We're still trying to get the law changed. Right now, to get it waived, you have to prove that it wasn't your fault and it would be a hardship to pay it back. We're trying to get that changed to just say if it wasn't your fault, you don't have to pay it back.
Okay.
We haven't gotten there yet, but we're working on it.
Okay, good. And for those of you out there and joining, welcome again to our Q&A with Attorney James Mitchell Brown. You're welcome to enter your question into the chat feature. We will take a few minutes for callers as well at the end, so we make the best use of the hour that we have. Okay, so your opinion on Commissioner O'Malley? Like, we've had a lot going on, really, like, quickly. I mean, like, why hasn't anybody else done this? Like, I mean, is he lucky? What's the deal? Can you address that?
Well, the last commissioner only wanted to privatize Social Security. He could care less about anything but privatizing, letting stockbrokers in Wall Street make a lot of money on the Social Security surplus. And he didn't really pay attention to anything else going on. The commissioner before that had a huge backlog when he became commissioner. It was taking close to 3 years to get a hearing. And all he wanted to do was get rid of the backlog, but he was clueless as to how to do that. There was one judge who's now in jail who was actually taking bribes to hear cases. And where most of the judges hear about 400 cases a year, that judge was hearing about 1,300 cases a year.
Bribes
And
from who?
representatives. Well, one particular representative.
Oh, okay. I know where this is going. Got it.
And the commissioner actually had gotten wind that this was happening, but didn't do anything because he figured this was a judge getting rid of 3 times as many cases. Just keep him on the job.
Right.
And,
Right.
and all he wanted to do was get rid of the backlog. Something else, just a typical Commissioner O'Malley. They were talking about doing away with video and telephone hearings when he became commissioner. And he found out that a telephone hearing is done about 71 days faster than an in-person hearing. And he said, why are we getting rid of this then? We're still letting anybody have an in-person hearing who wants one. But if somebody wants a telephone hearing and we can do it 71 days faster, they're entitled to that.
Yeah.
So he killed the proposal to do away with telephone and video hearings.
Mhm.
Video hearings are about 55 to 60 days faster.
Mhm.
But he's actually looking at things. When we were at a meeting, he heard somebody said that when they call their local Social Security office, they get cut off after 12 minutes and 47 seconds. He thought that was unusual, and then he found out that that happens nationwide. He's now found out that it would cost him between $50 and $75 million to change the phone system in every Social Security office in the country, but he's trying to get the money from Congress to do it because he said you can't have a system where people get cut off whenever they're on hold.
That's
So
annoying.
he's looking at the problems that really affect people and trying to take care of them. He was a former governor of Maryland. He's a people person, and he wants to solve the problems in the system. He
Mhm.
has a 4-year term. Hopefully, he won't resign after the next election, and he'll just keep his job and serve out his term. Usually, people with terms resign, even if somebody from their same party wins. Although I think that he will stay on. The last commissioner stayed on, even though a president of a different party won. And I think O'Malley will stay on no matter what, too.
You do? That's good news.
Yeah.
So is he a year into his 4 years yet?
No, he's about, I think he started in February.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
he has a long way to go.
He has a long way to go. One thing I wanted to ask you, Jim, a lot of the those that are out there listening are approved for their disability benefits and absolutely petrified of their continuing disability review, which, by the way, Attorney James Mitchell Brown helped us put together a How to Survive Your CDR course for our members here at the Disability Digest. But what changes have taken place in like this current state of the CDR world?
Well, not enough yet, but they're working on that. You still have to, Social Security has to prove that you've improved enough to return to work. Just proving that you've improved isn't enough for them to cut you off. One of the problems is there's a lot of new employees doing CDRs who don't understand that. The important message for the listeners or viewers is keep going to the doctor. If you stop going to a doctor, they're going to assume you're not disabled anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is when you get that review note, the message that they're reviewing you, get your doctor to send all of their records in. And a key thing, people always, the doctor walks in, how are you? And they say, fine. And the first thing in the doctor's office records is patient's fine. And that's all Social Security reads when they look at the office records. So never say you're fine. The first thing you should say is what your problems are. So that's the first thing in the doctor's records. Patient isn't sleeping well because of back pain, having chest pains post-heart surgery, whatever it is, don't say you're fine, say your problem, because that's invaluable in establishing the continuing disability.
Mm-hmm. Have they changed the frequency or volume of the reviews?
Well, they're supposed to review you every 3 years. They're supposed to stop once you're 59, although I just had a 60-year-old with a review. I got that stopped pretty fast.
Okay.
But I haven't seen them happening more often. If you're under age 50, you're more likely to get reviewed right on the 3-year mark. The older you get, the more spread out they're going to be.
All right. Okay. With the time that we have, I'd like to start taking some questions. So, Jam, what do you see that's going on in the question? And while you're getting ready for a question, I'm just going to put in the YouTube chat. I'm going to put in I'm going to put in information about the commissioner and then what you could do to help. And I'm going to put it up on the screen here as well. But funding is really a key issue, right, Jim? We need to get the right amount of money into Social Security, and getting this budget passed is really important. So,
right. And the budget is only done with money paid in Social Security tax. It doesn't come out of any other funds, but Congress still doesn't give it to them.
Yeah. So what I'm putting up on the screen here is the link that is been put in the chat, where you can come in, fill in your information, and put in a request to get the budget funded. That is one easy, no cost thing that you can do to help you with your benefits. Of course, I mean, the more people that are, the more trained they are, the better they are. That's one thing, but then the level of service is certainly another. Okay. So, Jam, let's do this. I'll take a question or two from you, or Philip, if you have anything going on over there in your group as well. And then I'll open up the phone lines. We'll take a few live.
All right, I'll start. Does being on the grid rules reduce the chances of CDRs? SSA announced that it was going to pause CDRs for the year. Where can the public go to read announcements like this?
Mm-hmm.
They announced they're pausing CDRs, but they're still going on. So I don't know what they meant by that. The change in the grid rules isn't good. It will make it easier to not get terminated. They're looking at the jobs you can do differently. One of the problems is they haven't notified the vocational experts of that yet, and they haven't notified the people who make decisions of these changes. It just got issued as an emergency memo last Friday. And I was talking to somebody from DDS, which is the state agency, today, and they hadn't heard anything about it. They were still looking. They did know that it's a 5-year look back instead of a 15-year look back on jobs, but they didn't know anything else about it.
Okay. Good. So yes, the CDR notice, I actually put it out on one of our media pieces. It's in writing, but I know people as well that are still getting CDRs. All right.
Okay. Hi, I am a high-level quadriplegic and I have a good job with a good salary. However, I have pretty much round-the-clock personal care needs. Therefore, I use impairment-related work expenses. I am 65 years old. What will happen when I reach retirement age? I believe my SSDI will be converted to SSA retirement, but will it be the same amount or will it go down?
Yeah, Jim, we can hear you, but your audio is a little low. Did you hear that, Jim?
I didn't.
Okay. So the question was, individual is wondering, fill it in for me, Jam, if I don't get this right. What will happen to their check amount when they reach full retirement age? Currently a disability recipient.
Yeah,
It will stay
65
the
years old.
same. If they didn't get disability at retirement age, their check would be much lower than it is because they got disability, but it will stay the same. They're going to get a letter that they're no longer getting disability, but their retirement check will be the same amount.
All right. If you are 65 years old and spent most of your life in prison and have few medical problems, would you be eligible for SSI?
That, when did he last work?
I wonder if he
It's not
means,
stated
Jim, I
here.
wonder if he means SSI or SSDI, because Jam referenced SSI, which wouldn't be work related, right?
Yes.
I have to plug this in. It's not charging from the plug it was in.
Okay.
Okay,
Time
I'm
out
good.
for technical. Okay.
I'm good. Okay.
All right.
You want to go through the question again, Jim?
Okay. No, I got this, that the person wonders if he thinks he wonders if he's eligible for disability. Something I always tell people is a diagnosis isn't a disability. You have to prove what that diagnosis does to you to affect your ability to work. And the fact that he has these diagnoses, how does it affect his ability to engage in employment? How does it affect his ability to function every day? So those are the things that have to be looked at.
Okay.
And the answer then is maybe he's eligible for disability.
Put it in the maybe category.
Thank you, sir. Here's next question. Good afternoon. Can having whole life insurance cause problems with disability? I heard that it's best to make someone else the owner of the insurance. Is this correct?
I had trouble hearing you, Jim.
Yeah, your audio's low. The question, I'll repeat it. It was if, and Jim, fill me in if I missed some pieces. If an individual has a whole life policy, is that something that will cause a problem for, what was the next part, Jim, for getting benefits, or are they already on to benefits?
I'm not sure. With this, they're on disability.
They're on benefits. Okay. So is that one
Okay.
make
It
sense?
will not affect disability. If they're getting SSI, it affects their SSI because that's an asset.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Folks, we're going to mix it up a little bit here. I'm going to open the phone lines. The number is up on the screen. You can call in and ask a question. If that's easier for you, the number is 844-717-2454, 844 or 717-2454. It could be a question for Attorney Brown. Maybe you have a success story. Yeah, so give us a call. The lines are open. First come, first served. All right. While the calls are coming in, Jam or Philip, do you have another question?
Do you want to go, Phil? You're on mute. I will go. I found a medical document from a hospital from 1985 that I had totally forgot about. In the document, it says I had sharp pains in my left eye. It caused my left eye to twitch. What do I do? As a veteran, I'm also trying for SSA, hoping my 70% from the VA will get me approved fairly quickly.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay. Unfortunately, Social Security isn't bound by Veterans Administration rulings. And there are a lot of people who are 100% from the VA who get denied Social Security. Often it's because their case was presented poorly, but often it's because the VA doctors don't fill out the forms you need. But something that happened in 1985 doesn't prove disability today. He should get a current exam to see what his condition is, if there's still that problem, and get a complete physical at the VA and see any specialists he needs to see for any problems, so he has current medical information.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah, it's unfortunately tough for veterans. Good. All right.
Right. Okay. A representative has started a final review at your local office. Is this good news? I guess
And
they're
I didn't hear
tracking
you,
their
Jim.
case online.
Just
Hello,
hold
is this
that
better,
question.
sir?
Hold that question. I'll take this call.
Okay.
This is Brian. How can I help you?
Yeah, I just had a question. I've been on disability for the past 10 years, and I just got a CDR in the mail. I filled it out and sent it back in. When should I hear back? Does it take weeks or months or
Great. And what's your name?
before I hear back? My name is Kathy
Nice to meet you, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, what
Okay.
state are you in?
Yeah, what state are you in, Kathy?
in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay.
It will you may not hear back at all if they just continue your benefits. If they're going to terminate you, it may be 5 or 6 months. They may decide they want to get you examined by an independent doctor, which you'll hear probably in about 3 months if they're going to do that.
Okay. I don't know if
Now,
you
when
can
you
hear the
fill this
reply
out,
from, one moment, Jim.
Yeah.
Can you hear the reply from Attorney Brown? Are you listening online as well?
No, I had it on my TV, but I turned the TV down so y'all wouldn't be able to hear my TV.
No, that's fine. That's cool that we're on TV. Hey, Jim, everybody, Jam, Phil, we're on TV. At Kathy's house. So what Attorney Brown said is that you may not hear from them. And that's actually good news. And they may want to review you. If they do, they're going to send you a notice to go to a doctor or some other communication, but that could take like 3 to 5 months. So, Jim, would it be safe to say if you don't hear anything in 3 to 5 months, then you've kind of beyond the danger zone?
usually you are. And once in a while, it's 10 or 12 months and you hear that they're trying to terminate you. One of the things I would also do is go on the Disability Digest website, find the medical source statement, a residual functional capacity form for the condition you have, bring it to your doctor to fill out, and then send it to Social Security.
Yes, okay. Even if Kathy hasn't heard anything, to do that extra step with the.
I would. I'm seeing more and more CDR cases where they're not contacting the attending physicians.
I can't hear you.
Okay. So Kathy, Jim's advice is if you want to really top shelf it, right now is to send in a medical source statement, or we have forms here that we refer to as residual functional capacity report forms. And these are forms that you would have your doctor fill out that would, go through your conditions, your limitations, and their opinion on if you can work. So we have these here at the Disability Digest. You could just contact the support desk, and if you remember, if not, of course, we invite you to join us to do that. And
I remember.
Oh, you are? Okay, great. So that would be that's the advice from the expert. Anything else, Jim, for Kathy?
No, that's what she needs to do now.
Okay.
It's a waiting game.
Waiting game. Everything's gonna be fine, Kathy. That's my take, right? All right. Hey, we appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. All right, Jim, let's tighten up your question and then I'll open the phone lines back up again.
All right. Question 62 years old, approved on disability since 58. I was 58 years old. Letter of award stated to be reviewed in 3 as possible improvement. I have not received a CDR review yet. Will I at my age?
Okay, this
Did you hear
person's
that?
58.
Okay. Yes, sir.
At
He
age
was
58,
approved at age 58, currently
at
62.
age 58, it's unlikely that they'll get a CDR. The 3 years would be up when the person's 61. And the only way they would get a CDR is if they had a condition that is likely to improve. If most conditions aren't going to improve enough in a year to year and a half that they would do a CDR.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely that this person would get reviewed.
So that could be, for somebody listening out there, conditions that may improve. Let's say somebody had intensive treatment for cancer, but they're going to get through and be able to resume regular lifestyle, something like that.
Something like that. Or let's say they had both knees replaced.
Uh-huh.
One in January and one in June. They probably couldn't work for 12 months, but at the 15, 18, 20-month mark, they should be reviewed to see if they've recovered enough to work. And again, that's the kind of situation where you have to put in every other condition. I had a client who was terminated, and
Just hold,
it
please.
was
It's
mostly
Brian Terry. I'll take your call in a minute.
It was mostly musculoskeletal conditions that got him his disability, and those had pretty well resolved. But he had a heart attack and a stroke. And when they reviewed him, all they were asking about was the musculoskeletal problems, which had gotten much better. He didn't tell them about the heart attack and the stroke. They didn't ask any other questions because he didn't get disability for those. When he came to me, we gave Social Security all these other conditions, and he eventually got his benefits back. He was put through his own personal hell because they did terminate him before he came to me.
Thanks. We have a caller here. Thanks for that, Jim. Yes, it's Brian. Thanks for holding. Who am I speaking with?
Yes, my name is Michael.
Hey, Michael.
And I'm here in the not so sunny great state of Florida.
All right.
And I'm in the steps of a reconsideration. And after watching the video on how to fill out all of the forms to resubmit, I've noticed that I did a terrible job filling out those forms the first time. I didn't find the disability digest until afterwards, several weeks afterwards. And I wonder what, I mean, other than refilling the forms, what's a strategy, or what? I need some information if I could get it.
Sure. When you say filling out the forms again, like which, are there specific forms that you're referring to? Is it your appeal?
Oh, I'm sorry. And I should mention that I'm working with Philip Price as well.
Philip Price.
Yeah, Philip he's been fantastic with the information. But this is a new thing. I just watched those videos yesterday.
Okay.
And been working on the forms. But the 3369, the work history, the medical, and then the disability.
Okay. Before I have the expert chime in on this, how old are you?
I'll be 63. Excuse me, I'll be 62 in August.
62. So you're 61 now. And what were you doing for work like the last 5 years?
IT professional.
IT. So
actually,
okay.
You want specific, or?
No, I mean you were in a sit down type work environment, or if you're watching like me, you could stand and do that work. Is that right?
No, actually I traveled. I was more of a field on hands for every company that I worked for. My last job, I traveled the 48 states.
Okay.
To hospitals in the country, upgrading their equipment.
Okay.
So a lot of loading, standing, lifting.
I see. So totally different than what my vision was. Thanks for sharing that. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to turn this over to Jim. Unless you have your audio on from the show, you won't hear it, but I can break it up in pieces And this is recorded, so you'll get the whole replay from it as well. So, Jim, is that enough to go on, or to help Michael out, give him your opinion? And
Well, he needs some proof from his doctors about why he can't do his past work. At his age, if he can prove he can't do his past work, that's almost enough to get benefits.
Yeah.
But the doctors have to really explain that he can't sit in a car that long, he can't carry whatever case he carries into his work, that maybe because of pain or other things he can't concentrate as much. So, but he needs that proof. Filling the form out isn't as relevant as the medical proof he's going to have to get.
good point. Michael, did you hear that?
I'm listening now
Okay.
on my laptop.
Okay. Good.
Just to add a little bit, just yesterday in the mail, I received from Social Security a form. They're acknowledging my request for reconsideration,
Oh, that's good.
and it names you, Brian, as my representative.
Good.
And then I have 10 days to respond.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you're clear here is we need to get some evidence from your doctors supporting your, just similar to the prior call with Kathy and her situation, supporting that you're being treated, what your limitations are, and their opinion on work. You're working with Carl at this point, or have you been introduced to her yet?
She has sent me a couple of emails, but I think there was a mix-up. I was getting emails showing that I was represented outside of the digest, and after speaking with Philip, he let me know that disregard those.
Yeah,
that,
I'm familiar with that. It's because of a form you filled out for doctor support. But thank you for that. So here's the thing, and Carl and the team here, if you have the forms that you had requested, then that is your next step. Your top priority is to get those done. Now you can, even though you have requested your appeal, we can backfill that. As soon as you get those, we can add them to your case file. And that'll definitely make a difference. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And initially, I believe that SSA did not get the records from a doctor that I saw, independent doctor that did an evaluation of me and determined that I pretty much was disabled.
Okay.
I used that in a bankruptcy case, and I tried to get that to them, but it seems they did not get it because they don't even mention it at all in the denial letter that I received.
So you're saying that there were missing medical records on your initial decision?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then that should definitely be brought to the attention on the appeal, and then provided. That that and the prior point that I mentioned are definitely two things that will help you on this appeal. Just to, so that I mean, we are giving you great steps to do the best you can, but the chances of approval at the reconsideration level are, I mean, they're like what, Jim? I don't know what the stats are you have, but
It's less than 10%, and it depends on your state. In some states, it's 1 or 2%. In other states, it's 12%, but it's slim to none.
Slim to none. So, but doing the right thing now, but even if it's 1%, don't, pay attention to it, do the right things because you're building evidence. If you don't get it here at this stage, then it's on to a hearing. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Listen, thank you for calling in.
Yeah,
Keep in touch with us. Make sure you get those steps tightened up. And we look forward to, hearing the good news that you're approved.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the info.
You bet. Okay. All right, Jam, any other questions coming in on your side, Philip?
Yes. Regarding CDRs and continuing of care, how is the SSI dealing with the COVID cycle? I went almost 3 years with zero health care at the VA as they literally closed the doors during COVID.
Are we still in a
You
COVID
can
cycle?
no, now they're seeing people. You can still get virtual appointments too. So it's just a matter of making sure you get whatever appointment you can get to prove your disability.
Yeah.
The VA is backed up because of COVID too, and it depends which VA you're at, but get the appointments as fast as you can now.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. When someone on SSDI first enters the extended period of eligibility, what happens to Medicare? Does it get canceled or can it continue for a certain amount of time?
I didn't hear you, Jim.
When someone, can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah,
Okay. When someone on SSDI first enters the extended period of eligibility, what happens to Medicare? Does it get canceled or can it continue for a certain amount of time?
Medicare can continue, I think, up to a year. I'm not sure exactly, but you can continue your Medicare for a period of time. You have to pay part of the cost of it, though.
Mhm.
All right. Do you have question, Phil?
There was one on a VA. Um,
Or
and done lost it. Go ahead if you got another one.
okay. Have you ever had someone with interstitial cystitis or severe overactive bladder approved?
In the 80s, I was the only lawyer in the country representing people on interstitial cystitis. And I used to travel around the country representing people. At that time, the only bladder disease that was considered was cancer of the bladder. Interstitial cystitis is now listed, but you have to have certain criteria, and it's frequency, pain. I always treat IC as a vocational condition. If you're going to urinate 6 times an hour all day long, you can't work because you're getting up and taking that many unscheduled breaks.
Yeah.
Some people with IC don't have a lot of frequency, but they have tremendous bladder pain. And that pain affects their ability to concentrate, their ability to take instructions, to remember, and that keeps them from working. So you have to take the condition and then extrapolate it into how it restricts their ability to work.
Mhm. Like you said before, that's not the condition, right?
Right.
It's
Condition.
not the diagnosis, it's
Diagnosis.
how does it affect your ability to work.
Right on. Yeah, good example.
Mm.
The interesting thing
here.
with IC is it was ultimately originally diagnosed by an orthopedic surgeon who actually had it. Nobody could tell her what was wrong, and she kept pursuing until they discovered it.
All right, here's the one I was looking for. It says, does it make a difference if at the hearing the judge makes a quick decision, or if it takes a long time? Is that a denial or an approval?
Quick decisions at the hearing are usually approvals. A long time sometimes is an approval, sometimes it's a denial. Depends why it's taking a long time. There's one judge I know who, no matter how complete your file is, always decides he wants to get one more thing. And he's going to get it. He doesn't want you to get it. And that usually takes 6 to 8 weeks. And then he gives you a couple weeks to comment on it. I have another case where I had the hearing about 3 weeks ago and I got the favorable decision a week after. One of the problems is there's a huge shortage of people to type the decisions. They've tried voice recognition software, and it's not working that well yet. Eventually it will. But length of time for the decision doesn't really mean anything between favorable or unfavorable result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Good question. Yep. All right. Let's take two more.
One more here. I got approved for disability and have a phone appointment tomorrow. Do you know what this consists of?
Well, that could be a lot of things. If you have dependent children, they may be calling to talk about that. If it's SSI, they have to talk about the non-disability factors. What is your income? How are you paying your expenses? Who are you living with? If you have a workers' comp claim, it's because they want to know how much workers' comp you have. If were a federal employee, they have to know if you're getting federal employees retirement, because that offsets part of the Social Security. One of the things I always tell people is when you talk to the people at Social Security, they're filling out a form. Don't talk too much, just answer their questions, because they have to talk to a certain amount of people a day. Give them their answers. Don't tell them anything else.
Good point. Short and sweet. All right. One last question.
Go ahead, Jan.
Very hard to choose. There are a lot more. I'm sorry, guys. We can't cater every question. Doing my best. Um, just gonna look for CDR question if that's okay. You mentioned that going to healthcare providers prevents a CDR. How does SSA gain access to protected medical records when many Social Security recipients don't participate in Medicare?
Social Security, it's like Cleveland Clinic is a private medical provider. With a medical release, Social Security can get all of your records if you get your medical care at Cleveland Clinic. The same thing at the Ohio State University Medical Center or the University Hospital in Cleveland. So Social Security can get your medical records. The problem is sometimes the delays in getting them. I had a case where it was a young woman with Graves, myasthenia gravis, and lupus, and she was denied. And I looked and I saw they hadn't gotten her hospital records yet. And she'd been in the hospital 9 times in the 12 months before she was denied. So I got the 16,000 pages of hospital records and filed them with my appeal. Social Security should have gotten them because of the last administration, and with the great reduction of employees, they set certain cast in stone time limits to decide cases. And if they didn't have the medical records in that time limit, they would deny the case. They wouldn't say, well, we need another 30 days. We're waiting for these. So a lot of claims got denied because they didn't have medical records, but if they try, they're able to get them most of the time.
I think that's a good point, that monitoring the medical record collection at any phase of the process. Otherwise, you're having a judgment made on you without an incomplete, with an incomplete file. They don't have the whole picture, right? Good. Listen, folks, I want to be respectful of Attorney Brown's time. I do know you have a hearing coming up later today, and I wish you well on that. You probably don't need my well wishes, but I'm wishing you well anyway.
It's always good to have them.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. And again, on the Lifetime Achievement Award, that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
And when we do this in August, it'll be at 3:15.
3:15, yes. And just a little bit of self-promotion here for the team and all you 367 that are listening out there. The Disability Digest was started 17 years ago today. So I thank everybody for your contribution. Attorney Brown, Jam, Philip, all you members out there.
Congrats,
I want to add one other thing. Brian and I have known each other virtually for a lot of years, but we finally got to meet each other recently at a conference. And it was a pleasure to get to know you in person and shake hands and talk to you face to face.
Yes.
And you're just as great in person as we are virtually. So I look forward to a long continued relationship.
Yes, yes, and I met your lovely wife as well. That was fun. So yeah, I just got to make a point to get out more. But we'll do it. But listen, everybody, I just want to.
Albuquerque next year.
Yes, yes, Albuquerque. Got it on the list. For those of you listening, as Attorney Brown said, it's 3:15 going forward. This was just a special event, and it was a great one. Awesome stuff we covered. So mark your calendars. Going forward, 3:15, watch the notices that we have. Next week, there will not be a live event. It's July 3rd. People are in the party mode, but we'll be back the following week. So I encourage you to stay tuned for more. And if you like the show, what we had, share it with others. Come visit us at the Disability Digest if you need any further assistance. All right, folks, till the next time. August, I heard you say, Jim. It'll be great. We'll have you back then.
Sounds good. 2 months from now, we'll pick a date.
All right. Be well. Thanks, everybody.
Take
Make
care.
it a great day.
Bye now.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye, everybody.